Thank you for joining us today on The Apparent Voice. I'm your host, Bernita Bradley, and just want to say that today has been a very rough day for our world, right? This last couple of weeks, and just really want everybody to be encouraged, but still wanted to stick to the program. Let me stop and woosah for a minute because my mind is everywhere and I'm disturbed about everything. And I just need a moment just to just stop and just say it'll be okay. And to just say my heart is out there with our people and um, just move on with the show. Okay. So thank you for joining me with the on the Apparent Voice. Today I have a beautiful show lined up with a parent who really wants to think about transitioning from traditional school to homeschooling and how that looks. I know we have a lot of parents out there who are considering this transition and a little scared about it. Like I'm even a little scared about like, what do I do? What if I don't do well with my children, homeschool with my daughter? So if I have that thought, and I'm hearing more and more parents with it, I wanted to invite a parent on who has that same mindset. Like, what am I doing? How do I do it? How do I do it most effectively for my kids to make sure that they're successful in the future, and that I'm not just assuming I'm on just homeschool and then I'm doing probably the same kind of crap schools were doing, right? And I don't think a parent can do that, because I think any parent will be intentional about educating their kid, but just wanted her to have some support. So without further ado, I feel like I'm rambling on because my mind is everywhere. So Tisha Jordan. Hey, okay. So this is Keisha. So Tisha, yes, Tisha Jordan. How are you, T? How are you? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
How are you? Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
I know, like we didn't talk several times about how schools, like you've had articles written about you and your kids about this schooling and IEP support, and how it's just really not working, right? Like,
It's
and the
not.
pandemic. Look at one of the twins back there peeking. He like, what's she talking about? It's all right. Let the baby peek. Let him be like I hear you talk about schooling. But yeah, just the fact that it haven't been working before the pandemic, and now the pandemic and only made it worse, right? So tell
Exactly.
me a little bit about.
So do you want me to talk about before the pandemic or now?
Yeah,
Well,
before.
before the pandemic, it was really hard, because both of my boys are in two different schools and they both have an IEP, and it's really challenging trying to get to IEP meetings and get the teachers to understand that they need special help. Not so much as special help, but extra time to they learn differently. And get my children to understand that they don't have a problem. They just learn differently. They just need a little bit more time. So one school has been really current with helping one of my boys, Cody, with his schoolwork. She's been really helping him bring him in class and get extra time and get extra help. But the other school, I had to move him into a different school, Malcolm X, because of behavior issues with both of them going to the same school, and they thought it was a good idea. They thought it was a good idea to move him to a different school. So I ended up moving him to a different school, and maybe they would learn differently and maybe behavior would be better. So they want to label you like, because of your learning differences, that you have a behavior problem. So that was my issue with that. So I got him an IEP and it started working good, but I just think the teachers doesn't have any patience. And you have to have patience with children when they learn differently. I know that because I work with children every single day. But now since the pandemic, I'm very afraid of them having an IEP and me taking on homeschooling. So that's my fear because I'm not a teacher. I'm just a mother.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're gonna need that extra, help. And I wanna know how, if I homeschool, how can I still give him, both of them, help on their IEP? Will I get a counselor? Like right now, since my son's been out of school, he has a social worker that helps him with his schoolwork. She calls him twice a week.
Okay.
And she makes sure she helps him step by step. And really, she has been excellent. My father passed a couple of weeks ago. So she reached out. She came and visited him. Even during the pandemic, she stayed outside. She helps him as much as she can emotionally and for his work. So I really commend her on that. But I want to know, when September comes, I'm scared to send my children to school because this virus is not over. But I want to know, how can I still get them the proper learning technology and everything that they need with their IEP. Like other son's school, Malcolm X, they still haven't gave him a computer. So we're working off of one computer and 2 children. And I asked them about it, and they said, well, we won't be getting a computer. It's probably to July or August. School will be out.
Yeah, and August means school's coming back, right?
So I don't know when. He doesn't even know when school is going to come back. So I'm like, that's a long time. So we was just working off of one computer, and it's just like, and then the packets were so big that I tried to go to the school and get them to do. I'm just like, we're just going to take it one day at a time. So I want to know, how can I get some help if I want to do homeschool? I'm like scared to do homeschooling, but I'm scared to send my babies to school. And they'll be going to the 9th grade this year. I haven't been in high school in years. So everything is different. So I'm going to have to take myself back to school to learn how to teach them.
Mm-hmm. And so let's backtrack a little bit. So your kids were in the same school for a while.
They were
and
in the same school
and that
for a
school
while.
basically coached you into putting your other son into a different school.
Yes, due to behavior issues and saying that, he has a temper. And one of the teachers said that, he threatened her, and she was, basically in the meeting, like scared and nervous that he was in a meeting.
Yeah, but this was even after several attempts. Like this wasn't just like a one occurrence thing, right? This was over the
No.
years of them not meeting his needs for IEP, and you filing complaints, and then they basically
And
end up
even
telling you.
and even taking it so far as taking my children and taking them to the children's center to get them some professional help, and even letting the psychiatrist say that my children needs to be on medication.
Right.
And then just to the point that I got. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And they had one of the twins was going to school full day, and the other one, they had you agree to go only half day because
Half a
they didn't
day.
have the
Half a day.
proper support for him at school, right?
Exactly. And they say, well, I think his attitude occurs. Maybe he can't go to school a whole day. Maybe he has to go to school a half a day. And I was just so confused on that. I'm a single parent, so I was kind of lost on the situation. But to keep my child in school and to educate him, I would do anything. If it takes one to go a full day and one go to half a day, then that's what I would do.
Wow.
And that was just a lot on me trying to go to work full time, have a child in school all day, and have someone pick him up a half a day,
And imagine it's a lot on him, right? Because while
It
he
was
wants to be amongst his peers, it's punitive to him.
Yes, it was a lot on him because he didn't understand why he couldn't go a full day, and there's other children that's in the school that was doing things worse than him. So he didn't understand like why they want to kick me out. And I just feel like some of the teachers don't have patience for boys. Learn differently. If you have a son, boys learn differently, and they it's just that you have to have patience. The children of today are different. And there's so much going on in
I think it's
society.
not just a boy thing. I think it's like all kids learn different, right? I mean, I think about myself in school for math. Math, I had a math teacher who accused me of cheating for years. Like, excuse me, for the whole year, she accused me of of cheating, and was like, you can't be learning this and just writing the answer. You cheating, you looking in the book. And literally made me isolated me and started making me take my test with nobody in the classroom and no books, nothing. All I could have was a pencil. And every time I took that test and got like a 97%, she was dumbfounded. She was just like, well, how are you doing this? Well, that's just how my brain works. It don't, but I cannot do what you are showing me on that board. I can't do it that way. I learned it totally different.
And see, the teachers not like, I done had an issue with a lot of different teachers with that, because they supposed to, like, if you got an IEP, you take your test differently from the other children. Sometimes you have to take it outside the class, but in order for you to do that, you have to have extra teachers, and there's never no extra teachers. So he felt uncomfortable asking for help, because one teacher used to tell him, like, I know you know this. It can't possibly that you don't know this. So it discouraged him to reach out to a teacher or feel comfortable. You're supposed to make your students feel comfortable with anything if they're asking you questions about work. So if you make me feel embarrassed in front of my peers, I'm never going to ask you, so I'm going to fail.
Yeah, yeah.
But he would do good. Like he does excellent when it's one-on-one with the social worker now. When he just did a project that was worth 350 points. You have to research when she's on there with him and encourage him, like, you're doing very good. You look things up on a travel thing and you're doing excellent. It's really encouraging when your teacher tell you you're doing a good job, you're doing a great job.
But when she in a classroom with 30 kids embarrassing you in front of your peers, and she's telling you, I know you understand this. And so at that point, my brain shut down as a child and says, oh, you just don't like me. Like you, kids know if you like them or not.
Right, and it makes me angry, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm just not going to do anything. And then that makes her angry, then I'm going to call your parent. But you should never put a child in that position that he feels or she feels that she can't reach out to you, because basically when you're a teacher, you're a second mom away from the original mom.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be protecting the children from other children or anything, because you have a lot of peer pressure in school, and a lot of bullying. So if I'm not getting it in class, when I leave your class, I might be getting bullied because I don't know that. And I'm not going to tell you, and a lot of children don't tell their parents that they're being bullied because of, I might learn different. And I had to get with a teacher and let her know that no child in this school should know that my sons have an IEP or they have a learning disability. That's private.
Yeah, yeah. That's federal law, right?
That should never be announced in the classroom or anything.
Yeah, and so a lot of his lashing out was because this was something that had constantly gone on. And then not only the teacher, but the other students, the principal, because I remember when I talked to them at one point, it was kind of like everybody was like, well, and it's like, yeah, y'all not doing this right. And so you as a mom chose, like, I'm just tired of it. I'm gonna just take them out. Even though we were talking about
and
lawsuit,
when
you were just
right.
like, yeah.
Right, and then you research in different things. You research when your child has an IEP, the school gets extra funding. So if you get extra funding because my son learned differently, you should be giving him everything that he needs.
Yeah.
It should never be a requirement to say, okay, you need to go home for the day. You need to be able to talk to him and be able to calm him down and give him the proper education that he needs instead of sending him home.
Yeah. Well, so with that being said, I will say this before we bring on, or as we bring on Keish, our parent experts, I want to call them, because I'm learning. I'm willing to learn right along with you about this homeschooling, whatever we want to call it. But we have some that are out here doing it. Yeah, and they doing it, and they've been doing it. They doing it fabulous. So I like to Keisha and Lakeisha, if she's there, to join us, because like we gonna put a halt to some of this, and we have experts who's willing to talk to families and students. So please join us, Keisha and Lakeisha, if you're on. I think they're on. They should be joining us. Yep, there we go. There we go. There we go. Hey, Keisha. Hey, Miss Gray. You're on mute.
Oh, there I go. Am I better?
Yes, you are. Yes. Hey, Lakeisha, how are you? So here we go. I wish I could switch this screen around and have Tisha next to y'all so she could feel all y'all love, because I know y'all about to give her her life. I would love for you to start with one thing that Tisha said. Tisha made a comment that parents, hey, Lakeisha, hey. Um, she made a
I was
comment
taking
that
notes.
parents are not the teachers. And I know that that's going to spark a whole lot, right? That's going to spark a whole lot because she, but she's dealt with a whole lot. You heard her story, and you probably experienced it some yourself with some of your kids or some other parents. So go ahead and talk to her. Go ahead.
Well,
I'm gonna give
first of
y'all
all,
the floor.
let me just give Tisha a big hug.
Virtual
You
hug.
know,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
because
Thank you.
when I heard you talking, I really I feel it as a parent. You know, I know what I know what that feels like. You know, and oh, I'm so emotional. I like Bernita. I think before we start this conversation, it bears noting that nothing is normal right now. Today, particularly with what we're dealing with, to give ourselves some grace and to let ourselves off the hook. Um, I haven't done anything today because I allow myself that grace. When I was listening to you talking, I thought about how that's probably something that needs to exist, not just for us, but our children as well. So when we talk about, when you said that, do you have two boys, twins?
I had twin boys. They're 14. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I heard you say that they had a behavioral problem, or you were told that, I just thought the thing that came to mind for me was all Black people have a behavioral problem. It's called trauma, right? And so what we're seeing, Black people are protesting, they're saying that's a behavioral problem. So when we're not behaving in accordance with structures that are not set up to allow us to succeed, it becomes our problem. But honestly, honey, it's not. It is not our problem. It is a problem with the way things are designed. And I want to let yourself off the hook with that. I hate that term, behavioral. And when you said I'm not a teacher, I'm a mother, those two things are synonymous. From day one when they got here, the first interaction you had with your child was you. And they learned from the moment they got here. They figured out, kids are the smartest. They figured out when you were pleased with them, when you were not pleased with them, because they were constantly learning and you were constantly teaching them. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm never really quite clear where the separation, like why we decide that age 5 is a good idea to move learning from its natural place and put kids into an institutional system, which somehow breaks their spirit if you let it. And then in the 12th grade say, okay, go into the world, be successful. It doesn't work that way. And I would, if you want to take a note, there's I don't know how to share it. There's an article called School is Bad for Boys, and it's by John Holt. And it's one of the things that really directed the way I think about learning and what I feel about schools. But I would encourage you to sort of let go of expectations of learning. One of the things is that there's always a second curriculum in schools. It is not what we're just learning. So when you were talking about the teacher saying that she felt so afraid of your son, that she was in the meeting and his behavior and she was afraid, that's the second curriculum. So the second curriculum is to already let our Black boys know that they are going to be feared, because when they're in the world, we already see that. So the Amy Coopers of this world say, oh, I'm going to tell them that you're threatening my life. We're starting to plant the seed early. And so our boys, our Black boys, I'm the mother of a Black boy, they learn early that people will be afraid of them. And so to me, like, I get emotional. Say this. I pulled my son out of school in the 8th grade because of a lot of what you're talking about. One of the things the middle school was doing at that time where they were giving students infraction sheets. They had local infraction, state infraction, and federal infractions on a sheet because they talked about trying to teach them about the legislature. And I thought, you're preparing him for the prison pipeline. And I pulled him out of school. And the first few weeks that my son was home, I remember he would sit, because I didn't know what to do either. I had no clue. We weren't in a pandemic. I didn't know what to do. I had him in Connections Academy. I didn't know. And ever so often my son would go like this. And I'd say, what are you doing? He's like, oh, can I go to the bathroom? I was like, you're in your house, son. Just go to the bathroom. But I realized at that point he had been institutionalized. He had already been institutionalized to believe he didn't feel liberated. He did not own his learning. He didn't even feel like he could use the bathroom in his own house. Like between those hours, he felt it took so long to break him of that. And I don't know if he ever turned the corner, right? So I say all that to just say that our children don't need harsh treatment. They're going to get that in the world. What they need is grace. They need love. They need kindness. They need caring. And we need to just let them take the lead and support them, even when we're not sure. So I don't know, like, I think 9th grade is a good, getting to 9th grade. Are they in the 9th grade going to 10th or in the 8th going to 9th?
They're in the 8th going to the 9th.
Right. A great transition period to start having some real conversations with them about some of the things they're interested in. And some of the things they're interested in might seem really, really kind of off the wall. I think by 8th grade, my son wanted to be I think earlier than that, he wanted to be a dinosaur. He wanted to do something big for dinosaurs. And so that's all we did. We followed him down every single rabbit hole, because what that said to them was that we value the things that you believe you want to do. And we're going to learn. There's never a learning a right thing or a wrong thing. There's just learning, right? And so I encourage you with that, but I don't want to hog this whole conversation, but I am just so full from what you said. And I just wanted to express that. So Lakeisha, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We can't hear you, Lakeisha. Yeah.
Last week. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. I did that last week. I said, I think that you were doing a great job sharing information. And
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
so,
yeah.
Tisha, I think I just want to speak to from a perspective of, I used to be in the public school. I taught in Christian school, charter school, public school, and now homeschool. And one thing that I noticed is that whatever school I taught at, or do your own little research, every time I go to a school, there's always a little Black boy in the office. And now I'm even a director at a daycare. I work on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at a daycare. And all the boys, well, all the little ones that come to the daycare, it's a Black boy. I mean, that comes to my office for getting in trouble. So it starts so early. I'm like, I'm at the daycare for from about 10 in the morning till about 6 in the evening. From that time, I see the boys. And it's rare that a little girl is sent to my office. Now we're talking about 2 years old till about 4.
Wow.
About 4 or 5. And they're dragging them to the office that young because they're not sitting still. They're not answering properly. And I'm like, what happened? What did he do? He's just so bad. He's doing this. And I'm like, well, what did he actually do? And there's never really a clear answer on what these boys are doing. They're just not relating to the so-called authority or the teacher or the child care worker or whatever it is. And I was determined to get the word to parents, especially of boys, that sometimes the teachers are exaggerating the behavior of your sons. I know from when I was teaching, I was that teacher that they sent all the bad boys to.
I'm that teacher too, right now. I'm that teacher right now at my job. Mm-hmm.
So at the school that you're at, you notice that you can go to the office any time of the day, and generally there's going to be a black, if it's a school with black boys, it's going to be a black boy in the office.
That is true. That is true.
I don't care if you go at lunchtime, if you go first thing in the morning, when the bell rings, it's going to be a black boy in the office for trouble. And when you, a lot of times when you ask, well, what happened? There's no clear answers. There's no clear solution on how to fix whatever this kid is doing.
So let me ask you something, Lakeisha. So where's your school at? Is your school in the city where you work?
The child care center?
Yeah.
Yes, it's on 7 Mile and Littlefield.
Okay.
And we have about 200 children, but not at the same time.
Okay.
We're a flexible daycare. So I'm there Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 6. And right now we're trying to figure out how to best support school-age children once school starts back, because we do have latchkey, but not in the daytime. And so that's something that we're toiling with and playing with, the ideal of having school-age children in the daytime for those who have the couple days of school, and then you know how they're going to be doing
the swing shifts for the kids.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out how we're going to help the schools with that. But
so with that knowledge, the fact that like they're prepping our kids from an infant, right?
Yes.
Why are we being subjected to this, right? Why are we doing this? And how
can I add one thing there?
Parents, go ahead.
I just want to say how that plays out. So when we talk about behavioral issues and why we do that, we're really sort of preparing our children for when they have an interaction with police, right? So we start there, but Black young men are supposed to understand when they interact with authority, whether it's a teacher, whether it's the principal, whether it's a police officer, they're supposed to understand, because we have primed them that when law enforcement interacts with them, they should just be obedient, which is why we had the issue with George Floyd, which is why we have an issue with Ahmaud Arbery. That was about obedience. That's a behavioral problem. So I wanted to just connect the dots for you, because what happens is we're priming them, and then our goal as a parent is, hey, you know what? I want your behavior to be together, because we know the threat of what it means to be a Black man having to be out there. We want them to learn early. That's not the curriculum that school's telling you, but their actions show you. I want you to learn how to behave so that if you have an interaction with police, it ends well for you. They can do anything to you, but you should behave. You should be obedient.
And I had several teachers tell me, Black teachers, I have several teachers tell me that your sons just have a problem with authority. Well, if you're yanking on him and you're yelling in his face and your spit is on his face, you're in his face, so he should be defensive, because I haven't been disrespectful to you, so why are you being disrespectful to me? Like, I said, well, if I got in your face and was yelling at you, you would feel some type of way. I don't think he has a problem with authority, but he do have a problem with being disrespected for no reason. And you didn't even ask
that brings on a good point. Like, I really believe adults fail to realize that children deserve respect too, right? Yes, and you're there to educate. You are not there to humiliate them in front of their peers. You are not there to disclose their personal business in front of the classroom. I've seen teachers literally tell somebody. So a teacher told my nephew in 6th grade, he said, I don't have a pencil. And the man said, why aren't you doing your test? I don't have a pencil. He said, oh, you ain't never got a pencil. You ain't never got a pencil. That's why you failing in my class now. So my nephew looked and was like, wow, like, why you gotta say that? Now, mind you, my nephew was in the 8th grade, in the 6th grade, but he was supposed to be in the 8th grade. So the teacher looked at him, and Julius, he has a burn on his face. So about 35% of his face is burnt, it's scalded, and was disfigured. The teacher looked at him and said, "Oh, that's why you fell in my class anyway." So Julius looked at him and said, "Man, shut up." He was like, "That's why your face burnt up." The teacher. And my nephew looked at him and told him, "I am going to kill you. I am going to kill you," and went into a rage. They called me, was like, "You better come get him, or the police is coming to get him." Because at this point, he can never be in DPS schools. He just threatened the teacher, this and that. They called me, just told me what he said. They didn't tell me the whole picture, not knowing who I was when I showed up, that I'm going to investigate. And long story short, they tried to have all these meetings without the teacher in there. And finally, I told him, I said, "You are not going to expel him, blah, blah, blah." Long story short, this teacher antagonized him. And how do you think this relationship is going to be moving forward as a teacher? So, I mean, they do it all the time, right? So let's get back to this homeschooling thing. So we've clarified that a lot of people don't like their job, educators, right? They don't like doing it. They want to do it for what they consider to be the perfect student. But what are we going to do about homeschooling? So we got plenty of parents who are afraid to homeschool, and she wants to make the transition. But I know, Keisha, you've had your children like in school and homeschooling. Like, how does that look for them?
Right. So first of all, the decision to homeschool is never a permanent one. So if you try it, it's like if you put something on your plate at dinner and you try it and you don't like it, you just say, "Okay, I'm not going to have that again." So, my son, when I pulled him out in 8th grade, he did it for a while. And then, so he went to school K through 8, came out. And then the 11th grade, he decided that, yeah, you know what? I want to go back to school. I supported that because that was his choice. My daughter has been out since 5th grade. She graduated, whatever graduation is to us, but she's completed her coursework in the 12th grade now. I think, and this sounds very unconventional, I think we have to break our desire to fit what we're doing to the needs of school. Yeah. Especially if your sons, what I'm hearing from you, Tisha, is that your sons are not learning in a way that's traditional. They're not interested in the things that they're learning. Because if they were interested in the things that they were learning, they would actually do it. But the things that they're teaching aren't interested. So when you said earlier, children are different. Children aren't different. They're curious. They're want to be engaged. They're all of these things. The way we teach them or the way we interact with them has to be different. We have a 100-year-old curriculum and we have technology and we are still teaching the same way.
Exactly.
We're rewarding. I mean, my daughter, when your kids get to 14, I'm telling you, rewards don't work. They don't need gold stickers. They don't want all this. They don't. If they're really smart, they're like, "What the?" I'm sorry, I'm not gonna cuss on the show, but what is this? Right. What is this? Like, I don't need a gold star. I want to do something that makes sense to me. So you find at that age, a lot of kids are interested in maybe VOTech, where they want to do things with their hands. They want to learn a different way. That's a great opportunity now for you to start having that conversation. Hey, you know what? Get a car. Have them take that apart. See what they're interested in. Have them work on a project. Find a robotics team. Have them engaging in something. But the thing is, we can't drive their educational desire. They have to own that journey. They have to own it, and they have to go for whatever it is, and we can't judge them. Like, hey, my son made a decision to do something that I didn't think that he should do, but you know what? My job as a parent is to say, I support you in what you do. Your children are still young, ninth grade. Start having that conversation. They're old enough, mature enough, and we need to trust that. And you need to trust yourself and drown out the other noise. And people say, because I hear it all, there are all sorts of things like, "Oh my gosh, how are they going to go to college if they don't graduate?"
Yeah. That was
don't
me.
worry. Yeah, I'm like, do you know how many? My daughter got into a ton of colleges. She doesn't have a official anything. Somebody just dropped off a graduation gown here when I was waiting to get on the call, because some of my family is so into this sort of, hey, she needs to have this traditional thing. So she has a robe and a cap and a gown. It doesn't mean anything. at the end of the day, it does it. What they learn and the values they build for themselves and the way you love them and believe in them is everything they're going to need to move forward.
And Tisha,
Yeah.
I was just thinking too that there's a fine line between just letting children be free and then encouraging or pushing a child. Like you may see that your boys have something that they don't see. So paying attention to the things that they do, like I always think of my husband who has this very, very, very neat, tiny handwriting. And he draws like maps and
You muted.
Yeah, you muted.
oh, am I good now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so my husband has this very, very, very tiny.
I don't know why I keep muting.
Yeah, you keep muting for
And
some
back or
reason.
something. And my chair.
No, you're fine now.
Okay. Hate.
Something's going in and out like a
Yeah, it's
short.
like every time
Yeah.
it's like kind of like every time your screen moves, it's disconnecting your mic or something.
Somebody would have to unmute her.
You can hear it in the line.
She's trying to
or
fix me.
Yep.
There you go.
It's
Okay,
something
she's trying to
something in your
fix me
audio
up.
line.
In my audio line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I okay now?
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. As long as whatever
Okay.
you're doing stays
I'm just
still.
gonna be very still. Oh, I'm so close. Okay, so what I was saying is he has this very, very, very neat, very tiny handwriting, and he draws lines as if he had a ruler. And I always ask him, I'm surprised not one teacher ever encouraged you to go off into drafting, or because he
Architecture,
draws
designing.
like maps and all these things as if he had a ruler. And I always said nobody paid attention to some of his natural abilities, but yet he was in school, you know, all 12 years, and you know, his parents, nobody ever picked up on this extremely neat, even handwriting that could have shifted him into a direction. And so I would say pay attention to your boys, whether it's traditional things or just pay attention to what they're doing and try to steer them in that direction. And just be real encouraging. And as I said last week, I would think take some time off from traditional schooling and just take a breather and get to know your children. And even though it's ninth grade, it's still a time for you to just have conversations about what is it that they really like, and if they could not go to school, what is it that they would choose to do? Like if
go ahead.
Like if we were here and you were able to spend time learning anything you wanted to learn, what would it be? And then try to figure out.
Question.
And like you just take a look at from the time that your children were walking and talking, what are some things that they gravitated to? For example, I would say my 13-year-old is totally different, but for some reason he loves old people. I mean, he just absolutely loves old people. I mean, like there's this 97-year-old lady that's at our church. For some reason, he just loved her. And then when my mother-in-law stayed with us, I don't know if this TMI on camera or whatever, but he actually changed her diaper when he was only 10. And he loved caring for old people. And I'm like, what could I steer him into? And he loves like homeless people, but he loves science. And so I'm like, those are the things that I'm trying to see. He has never told me, Mom, I want to work with old people. But I mean,
but you see it in him.
I mean, we can go to the store and he's drawn to old people. I mean, I don't know if that's an appropriate word or, you know, way to say it, but it's just something that I'm paying attention to now that he's 13 and he's still real immature, real sweet, young kind of acting kid. But I noticed that about him. And so again, Tisha, just don't stress out so much about what they're not doing traditionally. Just try to really hone in and pay attention to what your kid is like. And because a lot of times kids will say, oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I want to be an attorney, because that's what's common. But you've never seen them pick up anything dealing with being a doctor, or, you know, or maybe it's some career choices or interests that they're not used to hearing or seeing. Like
Right.
what Keisha was saying
true.
about the dinosaur digging thing. Like in school, or average parent is going to just skip right past that. But, you know, just take heed to the things that your boys like, and it can be totally different.
And
That's
sometimes they don't know what they like. Like, I mean, sometimes
right.
it's like
That's
having
my
a handful
point.
of seeds, right? You scatter this, you throw the seeds out there, and you see what grows. And sometimes you have to expose them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're not getting the exposure. I would like you, Tisha,
Yes.
to tell me about your boys, because I think when I started listening to you, I didn't know who they were by what you told me. I could tell you, I knew they had problems in school, behavioral problems. I want
Right.
you to tell me about them.
Well, Cody, he loves to draw. They love to play video games. They when they were little, they had an older cousin that used to play the drums, and they used to watch him, and they learned off just watching him. Just by watching him play the drums, they learned the rhythm and taught themselves how to beat the rhythm. Um, Chase, he loves to play video. Now Cody, he'll take something apart and he'll put it back together. He will look at something and take it all apart, and he'll put it. I have watched him with my dad before and put it back together. Like if my phone need a reset or anything electronically, he can like reset it and put it back to, like, I'm like, how did you do that? Like my phone, I needed to take it to the shop and get it reset, and then couldn't get in it, and he unlocked it and got it. I didn't even have to pay any money to go get it reset. I'm like, wow. Now I say you're not smart because someone told you not. I couldn't do that. That's something. That's your gift. You went in my phone, pushed some numbers, and unlocked it, and I didn't have to go to the store to get it done.
Wow.
And well, both of them loves to play the drums, and they both love to play video games. They be on their video game and design different things on it. And I ask them all the time, like, you don't have to be something that a teacher tell you. What do you want to be? You want to be a firefighter? You can be whatever you want to be. Whatever makes you happy in this world, that's what you do.
Can you tell me one, I'm sorry, Bernita, I just one more question.
Yeah, go
One
ahead.
quality in each of your twins that has not changed from the day you met them?
One quality is, let me see. They're giving, they're loving. They are, one quality and one thing about them is that they love to be around their peers, and they love to give. And they're very helpful. And I try to tell them all the time that sometimes when they want to open up to people, a lot of people are not open-minded as you. They don't want to, maybe they don't want to be your friend. It's okay. They're very emotional when someone doesn't want to be their friend.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very outgoing and like to be with, have friends, and they're very friendly. But like I told them, everybody doesn't want to be your friend, or everybody's not open to be your friend. So you have to know how to shut your emotion off of that and not have your feelings hurt all the time.
One of the things I will say is that the two young men that you have just described sound nothing like the two young men that you described when you first came on when the school described. And I want you to hear that. Like, I want you to know how important that is, and to hone in on those things, because you're describing two sets of twins that sound like total polar opposites of each other. There's something that is never going to jive there for the school and for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the point at where you take it in another direction. And that's where you're the teacher, and that's where you're the mother, and that's where all of the things that beyond things that have never changed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that's where you start to focus your light. That's what you amplify. And you've got that.
So I will say this to you also, T. So I don't know if y'all can see this whirlwind behind me, this room. This is me and Victoria's craft room. Y'all see all those crafts, all those shirts, all of this. Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus. And this is just one space in my house. And that's organized. It really is organized. It really is organized. It's just my organization. But Victoria comes up with ideas. And I want you to acknowledge this, that your sons have brilliant ideas all the time, right? And what I do, I'll take any money I can get and I try to craft it. Like Victoria and Carl, I learned later with Carlos. Right? And but with Victoria, anytime she comes up with an idea of mine, I wanna create a headboard. So the other day we were on social media creating this headboard from wood with her and a blanket and all this kind of stuff because she said she wants to create a headboard. It behooves me to sit up and try to tell her no, right? Because it's an outlet and it's a way for her to learn stuff. When she said she wanted to make makeup, I went and got makeup stuff. And some of the stuff she stick to for a long time, some of the stuff is like, end up here, right? But she'll go back to it later. Or guess what? I'll find another kid to give it to. But what you said about the baby loving to take stuff apart, even if you could go to a Goodwill and find some stuff that work and let him take it apart and rebuild it or make it into something different. I think that'll bring something out in him. I really do. I know, and we've been on here, I think, too long, but yeah, all of that, finding their strengths and finding what they love to do for I think this is the perfect summer to get that started. We got 3 months till supposed school is supposed to start back, right? And so
that's what I was
go ahead.
That's what I was going to invest in because I noticed that he's been watching a lot of YouTube and trying to like put things together and build it in his own way. Like Chase has been cooking more. He loves to watch cooking videos. Like, well, maybe we should try this. So I said, well, maybe we'll cook some dishes this summer and maybe have a family picnic or something and cook I'll let you cook everything. And then Cody's been watching like little YouTube things that you can build things together. So I'm gonna try to go get him some arts and crafts stuff that maybe he can teach me how to put together some things.
Yeah. I mean, the one that cook, you can give him cooking is synonymous with gardening. So you can get him some little gardening pots and let him start growing some herbs on y'all deck in the back, and then he come in and try that kind of stuff. But it's just getting their mind out of the normal program of learning,
and getting your mind out of there too.
Yep. Letting them own some of it. Yesterday, the other day, I was helping Victoria. Victoria told me to move out the way, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gone. I'm gone. Because I'm in your space. I'm gone." But I said all that to say our show has come to a close for the day. I hate it. I feel like we need to have like a regular show all the time, just about homeschooling, like for real. And so I would love 2 things. I'm going to ask you 3 to connect. And I know Keisha is willing to be that support for people. And I've asked her often to be like a consultant to parents because her daughter rocks. And then the other, and Lakeisha also, if you're available, we're going to have more parents who want to have this conversation. So I plan to do this probably every other week. And if you can join, please join me. But also the other thing is we're hosting a youth show where I'm going to come on with some youth and I'm literally going to turn it over to the young people. We'll have a young facilitator who'll be talking about I homeschooled and this is how my journey looked. And I would love for the twins to join on that day. So it'll be young people just talking about homeschooling, just talking about their experiences and if they have some questions for that team, those teams, we'll have like a one side that'll be homeschoolers, the other side that aren't. And so that'll be next Tuesday, I think. And so I invite you to that. But with that being said, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much.
Ladies.
I hope it was informational for y'all. I hope it was good for the audience out there. People were really, really sharing their thoughts, and people were just talking. Like Sharon Kilgore, she was just so loving on your boys. Our cousin Kevin was saying stuff, and then Monique Snyder sent the at Keisha Gray, your messages is relevant and needs to be shared. They just love the show, and I think more parents want to have this type of conversation, because homeschooling is something. I said it last week, we about to be forced into homeschooling, Keisha, and you was like, no, we're not forced into nothing. This is our choice. I don't think we should be forced into this new world of, I gotta homeschool my kids for 3. No, I'm gonna make education the way I need it to be for my daughter.
Yep. A la carte.
Yeah, a la carte. Thank you. I like that. So can you do me one favor? Can you just for the next show, Keisha and Lakeisha, can you guys think of some points of telling us how it looks for a parent who does homeschooling, but those kids are still involved in programming, that where they go to a school for music or for engineering or whatever your kids are doing. I know your daughter's into gymnastics, right? Or is it gymnastics, or she's a dance? She's a
Oh,
dancer.
my.
No, she's an ice skater.
Yeah, both.
Yes.
Yeah, they ice skate. Yeah, volleyball, ice skating, piano, everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how does a working parent do this, and a parent who stays at home do these things
Now you can
and
come
still
through.
make sure their kids are,
Yeah,
still
that was
engaged?
my question. Like, how does a parent adjust? How does a parent adjust to that? Like homeschooling and then after school programs that your children might want to be in,
Okay.
and try to go to work. Like
Okay.
that's going to be a lot.
Okay.
Foster independence.
And I need to throw this out to Tisha over there, that it's time for her to start her own business. So that's a perfect opportunity for her to homeschool, because it's time for her to start. I got two infants over here that you can start with. I keep telling you that. But
And I have been very pressured about that lately, but I've been working on it, looking into it.
okay, so it is 4:58, and I've gotten the signal that it is time for us to check out for the day. Forgive me. Thank y'all so much. I enjoyed you.
I
And
would
this has
like
been the
to
Apparent Voice.
before we sign off, if it's possible, I would like to give both of the ladies' phone numbers. So if I have any questions or concerns I need you to help me with, I would
You can
love to
find
be
me
able to reach
on,
out.
if you're on Facebook, you can send me a
Mhm.
friend request, Keisha Gray, and then we can
too.
communicate that way. And then that's how I found Lakeisha last week. So you jot my name down and then
Okay.
find me on Facebook.
Okay, I will. Once soon we get
I
off, I'll
look
look.
forward to hearing.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay,
And
me
they're both
too.
on my page. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank
I
you,
sure
guys.
will.
Thank you.
Have
Bye-bye.
a great day.
Talk to you guys
Okay.
later.